Hey guys, it's your boy R's back at it again with another video. So, as I promised in the last video, I'm going to try to branch out and make different videos. This video is going to be about 5 inconsistencies, ass pulls, and other stuff that didn't make sense in Dragon Ball Super to me up until this point. There's going to be a speculation in this video because, power levels aren't really explained and power scaling is all over the place in Super. So this is not scripted. I'm just doing what I think personally doesn't make sense and try to explain my reasoning around it. If you have any disagreements, let me know in the comments down below. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing that I have a problem with are insane power leaps in short periods of time with virtually no training or little training. So the reason why my first image here is Goku Black versus Super Saiyan 2 Goku is primarily because when Goku and these two Gokus fought, right, Black was essentially around Super Saiyan 2 Goku level, right? So they were about even with each other. Now, this is going to be all based off of, my logic here is going to be based off of the fact that the most accurate or reliable power scaling that has been done with Super Saiyan Blue is that it is speculated that Super Saiyan Blue is around approximately a 20,000 times power increase. You'll understand why that is important later. But we're going to say for just the entirety of this video, I'm establishing it right now that my logic is based on the fact that Super Saiyan Blue is at least a 20,000 times power increase or around that a number. We don't have any exact numbers because the writers apparently don't give a shit about power scaling, and neither does Akira Toriyama. So this is just, this is what I'm basing my logic off of. So the reason why I brought him up is because basically what happens, if you don't believe me, you can go back and watch the episode. I believe it's episode 56, something along those lines, right? So Goku Black basically was around Super Saiyan 2 Goku level with God Essence. After a few days to a few weeks, right? It was a very short period of time. Goku Black did not train. The only thing we know is that every time that he gets his ass beat, apparently he gets stronger. I guess they had to give him some bullshit to make him a challenge for Goku and Vegeta. But essentially what happens is between the time period of them rebuilding the time machine to going back in time, this is only a few days to a maximum a few weeks. If I'm wrong, let me know down below. Regardless, during this time, to our knowledge, Goku Black did no training in this time. After he fought Goku, he did no training. He didn't fight anybody, right? He was just there destroying shit as he usually does and killing people. That's what he does. After Goku, Trunks, and Vegeta come back with the time machine, they go back to the past, or I'm sorry, not the past, the future, right? And they fight Goku Black. Vegeta goes Super Saiyan Blue, and he fights base Goku Black, right? Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta fights base Goku Black. Vegeta did literally no damage to Goku Black while he was in base form and he was in Super Saiyan Blue. Remember, I just said that Goku Black was around Super Saiyan 2 level. They were even. Now you're telling me that between the time period of a few days to a few weeks, that his base form went from Super Saiyan 2 level to Super Saiyan Blue level, or relativistic to that, in a few days to a few weeks with no training. Because he took damage, he got stronger. That's again, 20,000 times power increase for Super Saiyan Blue. That means that he increases power by around 200 times within a few days to a few weeks with literally no training. Just from getting his ass beat, one Zenkai boost, his power increased 200-fold. That is the largest power increase from a Zenkai boost ever recorded in Dragon Ball. again, I get that Goku Black is supposed to be, you know, a special villain. He has basically unlimited potential. He can basically get as strong as he wants to. But to increase your power in that at such a large scale in such a short period of time, honestly doesn't make any sense. Especially considering the fact that he got his ass beat by Vegeta after the fact. And when after he got his ass beat by Vegeta, who was a lot stronger than Goku, and arguably, you could say arguably, took more damage because he was fighting a stronger opponent, he didn't increase his power like that ever again past that. Not by 200 times. He might have increased his power by, like, you know, 2 to 5 times in order to overwhelm Vegeta by getting his little scythe technique. But 200 times power increase just from getting your ass beat, that's kind of a reach, don't you think? So that's the reason why I brought up Goku Black. The second person who got the most ass pull of ass pulls is Trunks. So again, after he came back to the past, Trunks trained with Goku as Super Saiyan 3, and he trained with Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, right? So that's like the only training that he did. He didn't get any massive power-ups in this time, right? But then, out of nowhere, right? He went from being Super Saiyan 2 level, who was weaker than Goku and Vegeta, right? Because Black beat the absolute shit out of Goku and Vegeta by himself once he entered his Super Saiyan Rose state. They weren't even on the same plane of power anymore. After that shit happened, somehow Trunks unlocks this pseudo god form out of literally thin air. It doesn't make any sense. It's never explained how he got the transformation or how he got infused with some pseudo god key. There's no explanation, because up to this point, it's made clear that the only way you can get god key infused with your Super Saiyan state is if you do god training. Like, the only reason why Goku and Vegeta were able to get their second Super Saiyan Blue state, right, is because they were put in a room with God Key, with Whis, and they trained to get that level of power. Trunks just got this from being angry. Like, that's it. Like, literally, he just got mad, and he became equivalent or relativistic to Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black, who beat the shit out of Goku and Vegeta, and he fought off that Goku Black plus Zamasu by himself for hours. What? How did he get wanked up to be stronger than Goku and Vegeta? Like, that's again another 200 times plus power increase out of nowhere. Like, there's no explanation for this. So, yet again, more ass pulls out of nowhere to suit the plot. It doesn't make sense to me. If it makes sense to you, by all means, stay with your hype and enjoy your show. But this shit doesn't make sense to me. The next person to talk about is Crillon. Yet again, another person who was wanked and got a Toriyama hand job via some unrealistic power up, right? So the last time that I can't remember what his power level was, but the last time that Crillon was assigned a power level, it was in, give or take, 20,000, 15 to 20,000, right? That was in the Frieza saga. So that was the last time he was assigned a power level. After that, he did 1 year of training in order to prepare for the androids, and then he did the World Tournament arc. I can't remember which World Tournament arc, but it was right after the Cell Saga. After that, he quit martial arts, right? He completely quit martial arts. So his power level might have been in maybe the hundreds of thousands in the Cell Saga. We don't really know. It might have still been under 100,000. Regardless, right? He didn't train for like 7+ years at all. He literally quit training in order to settle down and get a job and raise his family. And, you know, That's what he did. There's nothing wrong with that, but he quit martial arts and he didn't train. After that, he became so weak that bullets could hurt him. Bullets. That's how weak Crillon became. Mind you, after doing some training with Goku, which he did some light training on Master Roshi's island, then they did some, I guess, some mental training where Crillon finally overcame his mental blocks and therefore got some random buff because apparently his mental state was holding back his true power, which makes sense, but the level that his power was wanked to doesn't really make sense, if you get what I mean. So he went from being at tens of thousands, maybe a couple hundreds of thousands, and then after a few weeks of training, doing getting rid of those mental barriers, right? So he gets a second unlock potential, essentially. He went from being in the hundreds of thousands to the couples of millions. And before you're like, whoa, couple of million, where the hell are you getting that ours? Well, if you go into the tournament, right, 18 basically was getting pressured by I can't remember what his name is. I don't really care about these minor characters, so if I don't know the names, please don't hate me. But it was basically the blind guy, right? The blind guy was pressuring 18, and 18's power levels in the millions. We know her power levels in the millions. This is undeniable because she was Super Saiyan level plus, right? And she said that this blind guy was the real deal. Like, this guy was some strong shit, okay? He wasn't something to be mocked. Like, she said, you know, we need to take him out together. She couldn't handle this guy by herself. Crillon took out the same guy that 18 was worried about by himself, which means that he would have to be at least relativistic to what 18 was back in the Cell Saga, the Android Saga. So he got wanked up from hundreds of thousands to the millions with a little bit of weight training, some light sparring, and removing some psychological barriers? What? How do you get that much of a power increase in a few weeks? I'm sorry, like, few weeks, few months, whatever. It's a Toriyama hand job. It doesn't make any sense. He got wanked. I don't know what his power level is now, but I can assure you that he is at least 10 to 20 times stronger than he was before he quit martial arts. I know that much as a fact. Okay, you can say I'm wrong. You can say I'm just doing headcanon. But I'm telling you, if you look at it objectively, look at the feats that he had before, and look what he's done now. He's at least increased his power by 10 times at the bare minimum. If that makes sense to you, by all means, don't complain. But I try to take this a little bit more seriously because, or I'm trying to take it a little bit more seriously because you guys like the content that I make. I think my arguments are pretty solid. My argument here is that Crillon got a Toriyama hand job. The next person that got wanked, probably arguably the most out of anyone else, is Master Roshi. Like, guaranteed, like, dead ass, right? This guy's power level last recorded was 139. That was his last recorded power level. That was back in Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z, right? They never said he did any sort of training. No training. He just was on his island, chilling, being a perv, as he usually is, right? And through all of Z, he was irrelevant. He didn't fight the Saiyans. He didn't go to Namek. He did fuck all through all of Z. Nothing. In Dragon Ball Super, apparently he did some training, right? Because in the Tien episode, after he got his mind controlled by the Talisman girl, right? Goku said, "You've been hiding your training, old man." So apparently in Super, Roshi was doing some training. Okay? He was doing some training. And prior to that, going a little bit further back, in the revival of F arc, if that's what you want to call it, he was like in the thousands, because those soldiers that he was fighting, right, those guys were actually weaker than the soldiers they were fighting in Z. So regardless though, the average power level of those soldiers is in the thousands, which means that Roshi went from a power level in the hundreds to a couple thousand, which granted is not that big of a jump, but then he went from a couple thousand to the hundreds of thousands after he got some massive buff by having his mind taken over, and start beating the shit out of Tien with like no effort. And then in the arc, the tournament arc, he briefly overwhelmed Frost, which means that his power was also wanked to the millions with like no explanation. He didn't do a massive amount of training. The only training that we never saw him do any training. We just know that he did some training. We don't know what type of training he did, but apparently in Super he did some training. This could have been a couple years, couple months, who knows, right? And he went from doing that bit of training and doing some perv training, and because of this, he went from a couple thousand to hundreds of thousands to millions. And you're like, Ars, again, where are you getting millions from? Well, in the arc, he was able to briefly overwhelm Frost. Frost has to be in the billions because he was actually trading hands with base Goku, whose power level is in the billions. It has to be with God Essence. Me saying in the billions is actually a low ball. It's probably the tens to hundreds of billions. So, and then he also was swapping hands, kind of, with Super Saiyan Goku, who also had God Essence. So he was trading hands with them. So Frost has to be at least in the billions. In order for Master Roshi to overwhelm Frost in any capacity and to be forcing Frost to dodge, because honestly, with that big of a power difference, he should be able to tank Roshi's attacks and not even have to worry about dodging. He could be able to get punched like 10 to 20 times in the face and take no damage. That's what happens when someone is that much more powerful than you. Your punches don't even do damage. You can just sit there and take the hits and it doesn't matter. Hence, like what happened with Goku Black when he was getting mollywopped by Vegeta the first time. Like the first time they fought, Vegeta was like literally just going off on him. He hit him several dozens of times, and Black sustained like no damage. Yet here we see Frost clearly dodging Roshi's attack and got overwhelmed for a little bit. So that means that Roshi got wanked to the millions. I mean, it's plausible. Again, follow me on this. It's plausible that he's actually Frieza second form Frieza level in between that and his third form back in Z. Not now, not Super. No, I'm not that retarded. So, second form Frieza, his power level was 1 million, and I believe his third form was 2 to 3 million, something along those lines, right? So, he is that level in this arc. Think about how insane of a power increase you have to go from not even being Cyberman level to being second form Frieza level in because of some off-screen training and some perf training. Really? Is that what we're doing? Again, if that makes sense to you, by all means, you can take that and shove it up your ass, because I don't care. This is the one thing that literally just doesn't make sense. Toriyama hand jobs, am I right? And I know that there are more unreasonable power-ups that I could go over, but I'm not, because for the sake of time, I don't want to be rambling here for a half an hour. So let's move on to the next point, and that being the unreasonable technique learning in short spans of time in Super. So you can see from this image, right? Trunks learned the mokuba, and you're probably like, well, what's the big deal, right? Goku, he learned the mokuba from Master Roshi in a few days. Or actually, no, in a few hours, right? But the thing is, Goku learned it directly from Master Roshi. He learned it directly from Master Roshi. And Goku is a fighting genius. him being able to learn the mokuba in that short period of time makes sense because he is a fighting genius. According to Beerus himself, he is like a 1 in a million fighter. To be honest, he probably should have said 1 in a billion, because that's just how powerful Goku is. Goku is like the second strongest person that Beerus has ever fought. I think it's the first in his universe anyway, but he basically says that he's the 1 in a million, 1 in a billion, whatever. But after watching a video for a few minutes to maybe an hour, right? Trunks somehow learns the mokuba after not seeing it done, and he gets it right the first time. I'm pretty sure even Goku failed the first couple times that he tried the mokuba. And you're telling me that Trunks, after looking on a cell phone video and never having it being shown to him in front of him in real life, mastered it the first time that he used it, and does it perfectly with no mistakes? Yeah, no, that's bullshit. Oh my god, dude, this show and it's wanking off of characters is kind of obscene. But another thing, this was the one thing that got under a lot of people's skins, including mine, is that he learned the Genkidama out of fucking nowhere. What? Like, he literally, he just said, because the power of feelings, I'm going to learn a technique that can only be learned from King Kai, out of nowhere. No explanation, just because the power of feelings and plot armor, he learns the Genkidama, and actually gets a better level of mastery than that than Goku. Because Goku can only take that spirit bomb and throw it. That's the only thing we've seen him do. Not only did Trunks form the spirit bomb, but he was able to control and condense that energy and shape it into a sword. Not even Goku has manipulated the spirit bomb to do something like that, except for in the movies, and that's not canon. How the hell did Trunks, who's never learned a technique, and from my understanding never seen it, get a better level of mastery than Goku? Again, more shit that doesn't make sense. And the third one, and yes, I am going to be covering shit from the manga as well. I said Dragon Ball Super, I never said anime only. The third thing that I thought that didn't make any sense was that Goku learned the Hawkeye after seeing it once. And you're like, wait a minute, Ars, you just said that he's a fighting genius. Like, how is this so implausible? Well, from our understanding, the Hawkeye ability is a technique that can only be used by the God of Destruction. That is the only time the Hawkeye has been shown to be used, is only by Gods of Destruction. It's a God of Destruction technique. To reach God of Destruction is a status that is way beyond that of what Goku is at right now. Okay, it's possible, maybe, he might be stronger than some God of Destructions. We don't know that. He might be, but it's implausible if he is, since, according to Akira Toriyama, he is never going to become stronger than Beerus, who is a top tier God of Destruction. Okay? So after seeing this attack one time, he manages to use it against Zamasu, and it works the first time he tried it. How does that work? Is it a technique that anyone can use as long as they have God Ki or are relativistic to gods? Like, Hawkeye is now just went from being a God of Destruction technique to essentially just being a technique that anyone with enough prowess or power can learn and use at will. Again, we keep going with the shit that where they're just like learning shit, and they're trying to show these guys are geniuses by having them learn stuff that should require intense amounts of training, and they're learning it in like no time at all, with no warning, no training, no explanation. They just learn it. So this, to me personally, didn't make any sense. And of course, other people could argue, whatever, man. Goku is he's a fighting genius. You know, you're trying too hard to paint something wrong when there isn't. If you have that opinion, fine. Again, this is all in my opinion. This is what I think. But this shit, to me, doesn't make any sense. Moving forward. Apparently, the Dragon Ball Super writers do not know how the mokuba works or stop time. So, one of my commenters, one of my fans from my other video, pointed out something that I didn't go over in my other review. And that is that, the mokuba, or the evil containment wave, right, is supposed to be a technique to seal evil, right? We can all agree that's what the mokuba is. It's supposed to seal evil. Aside from the egregious fact that Frost, after only seeing the mokuba once in a few seconds, learned how to counter it, which is complete bullshit. No, he didn't learn the technique. He only learned how to counter it. If he learned the technique, he would have just used it himself against Vegeta without having to bait Master Roshi. But not only did he learn how to counter it out of fucking nowhere, because it's only been countered once, and that one time was when Piccolo reversed it on Kami, and you could say that kind of makes sense, only because King Piccolo is the evil part of Kami, right? They like, King Piccolo came from Kami. That is the evil part of Kami. Kami is the good side that is left. He expelled King Piccolo. And then King Piccolo had to know the same techniques that Kami did. So if Kami knew the mokuba, then King Piccolo knew the mokuba. And then he gave birth to Piccolo. And then it's plausible, not necessarily possible, but it's plausible that he learned the technique via his father. His father might have passed down the genes or whatever, the memories required in order to know that technique and how to counter it. So that you can kind of explain away, but like, okay, I guess that makes sense. With this, it doesn't make any sense. He countered the technique in a few seconds and incorporated it into his plan, and then used it against Vegeta, which shouldn't have even fucking worked, because that's a literal complete contradiction of the mokuba, which is only supposed to be able to be used against evil. It's never been shown to be used against anyone who has who's pure of heart, right? It doesn't make any sense why it works against Vegeta. It shouldn't have worked at all. And again, if you look, even if you look on the bottle that he was sealed, it says Demon Seal, right? So it's supposed to be used to seal evil and or demons. Considering the fact that Vegeta is not evil or a demon, the fact that he was even sealed to begin with is complete bullshit. So the writers don't know what how the mokuba actually works. Now the next thing that blows my mind is that the writers also don't know how stop time works. So you see this guy in the background from Universe 11. His name is Kunchi, right? You guys remember when he laid down his little minefield with key strands, and basically what he literally said, this is exactly what he said. I'm saying this shit verbatim. He said that you may stop time with your time skip, but you still won't be able to get to me. It's not exactly verbatim, but that is as close as I can get, right? So he's basically saying that even if Hit stopped time, he would not be able to go past his minefield and get to Kunchi. Which doesn't make any sense, because that's not how stop time works. When time stops, everything comes to a complete stop. Everything. Okay? Light doesn't travel, sound doesn't travel, nothing is moving when time is stopped. Right? So if Hit wanted to, he most definitely could have used time skip, walked over every single one of his key strands, hit Kunchi 50 million times, and then restarted time, and guess what? All those hits that he hit Kunchi with would have hit him, and then all the key strands would have exploded. So apparently the writers do not know how stop time works either. Try to explain that away. The fourth thing, this showed up in the manga, is that Vegeta was not able to lift 1,000 tons. So you can see the comparison on the left and the right. Right, you're seeing clearly that Vegeta cannot lift Vegeta on the right, and that you see Beerus say that metal men weigh over 1,000 tons. You look on the left, and you'll see that King Kai gave a Goku. Oh, sorry, no, that's not King Kai. Which Kai is that? Holy shit, I don't even know what Kai that is. But that's definitely not King Kai. But he made it. He gave Goku 40 tons, so 10 tons on each one of his limbs, right? And you see, once he went Super Saiyan, right, it became easy. And you're like, well, that's only 10 tons. How does that make sense? I'll explain, and I'll show you all my calculations in a bit. Just so you have more reference, okay, so you understand where I'm going with my calculations. This is Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z training at 400 times gravity. When you train under 400 times gravity, anytime that you're in a place where your gravity is when the gravity is higher than 1g, right, whatever that multiplier is, that is how much you weigh now. So I weigh 150 pounds, 165 pounds, right? So if I were to train in 2 times gravity, my weight would double instantly. As soon as I go into any place that has 2 times gravity, my weight would double. So right now what you're seeing is Vegeta training at 400 times his own weight. That is how much is weighing down on, which is the reason why he was struggling to stay upwards. And he was doing this in base form, mind you. Base. He could have made this easier had he been able to go Super Saiyan at this point in time. He wasn't able to go Super Saiyan yet. If he was able to go Super Saiyan at this point in time, this would have been a lot easier. Again, I'm going to go into all these calculations right now. So, here are my calculations. Assuming that Vegeta's weight is around 200 pounds, which is accurate, somewhat accurate, I guess, based off of his height and his build. We're going to say he's around 200 pounds, okay? So, if we do 400 Gs, again, 1 G is just his own weight. 400 Gs times 200 pounds is 80,000 pounds. That is how much he weighed when he was training in Z before he unlocked Super Saiyan. Okay, before he got God Essence, before all of that shit. That's 80,000 pounds. That's how much he weighed. So, if you divide that by 2,000 pounds, which is 1 ton, that means that he weighed 40 tons. Right? That is how much he weighed in that room at 400 times Earth's gravity. If he had Super Saiyan at that time, because, again, when you go Super Saiyan, or any transformation, that directly multiplies your power, your speed, your strength by that multiplier. It scales proportionately, okay? It's a perfect scale. So, whenever Goku goes Super Saiyan, his power, speed, and strength increases by 50 times. Exactly. So, if he went Super Saiyan, if you do that times 40 tons, that means that he would have been able to lift his own weight of 2,000 tons. Not lift someone else, his own weight of 2,000 tons. Okay, just so that you have a concept of how much weight that is. That's already greater than Vegeta's weight. And this is before he got Goddesses, before he got stronger, before he even unlocked Super Saiyan. Now, Goku lifted 40 tons while training with King Kai, right? And King Kai's planet gravity is 10 times greater than Earth. So 40 tons times 10, right? Which is the gravity of King Kai's planet that's greater than Earth. So 10 Gs is 400 tons. So he was already lifting 400 tons in his base form. That's heavy as shit. That's 800,000 pounds. Once he went Super Saiyan, he was already able to lift 20,000 tons. 20,000. That is 20 times the weight of a metal man. But let's go further, because remember, this is before he even got God Essence, my boy. He didn't even have Super Saiyan God at this point. If you do that times Super Saiyan 2, right? That is 40,000 tons. 40,000. 80,000 pounds. Assuming that Super Saiyan Blue is approximately 20,000, right? Assuming this is around 20,000 times power increase. Based off of the power scalers in the Dragon Ball community who came up with these numbers. I haven't found any number that is more accurate or even remotely supported by evidence than this, right? That's 400 tons times the Super Saiyan Blue multiplier. That means that in Super Saiyan Blue, and this is not including the fact that this is not including God Essence or any training that they've done after the fact, right? This is just based off of Goku, who is relativistic to Vegeta. This would be 8 million tons. 8 million. Which is 16 billion pounds. Okay? This is all before they unlock God Essence. Right? All before they unlock God Essence. All before they became God level God tier. Universal tier. Right? So how the fuck did he struggle with 1,000 tons? By scaling alone, this literally makes no sense. According to one of my fans from the other video, Akira Toriyama, he actually said that scaling isn't really a thing anymore. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but regardless, this shit doesn't make any sense. If you scale from Z and their feats and compare it to what happened with Vegeta, that's retarded. Absolutely 1,000% retarded. It makes no sense. Again, these numbers are all with no God Essence. So if we were to include God Essence and we knew what their actual power levels were after they became God tier, these numbers would be massively higher than they are right now. Massively higher. So again, one more thing that doesn't make any sense in Dragon Ball Super. And the fifth and final thing that I'm going to go over, right, is Tien's full potential not being reached. So, I already went over that on one of my reviews 2 videos ago, I believe. And Tien, he got shafted. Like, Japan doesn't like Tien. They gave Toriyama hand jobs to everyone except Tien. And if you go back to the earlier interviews that Tien had, that the writers had about Tien, they said that Tien, right, he had, his power, that third eye, is linked to the fact that he's a descendant of these 3-eyed people. They're basically aliens. He's not an alien, but he's a descendant of those people. But because he was going down the path of evil, a lot of his power got sealed because of that. Okay? A lot of his power. So, remember, Crillon got his power unlocked essentially twice. Gohan got his power unlocked twice. And Tien has never, not a once, reached his full potential in this anime or the manga. No, he never has. The fact that he hasn't done it yet is either because the writers don't give a shit, or all of them forgot that a lot of his power is sealed. There is no telling how much more power he would have if he were to unlock that power that's locked within his third eye. We have no clue. This guy could reach billions of power level if he were to get that. Like, again, if they can wank Crillon and Roshi to that much power, right? We already went over those Toriyama hand jobs, right? Then he should be able to become a lot more powerful than both of them if he were to unlock the power in his eye. And aside from his literal potential not being reached in terms of his power, we also don't see him use any of his vast array of techniques in Super, right? One attack that we don't see him use, Solar Flare, which is his technique. Apparently that's Krillon's technique now, even though he would never have learned the Solar Flare if it was a free Tien, right? He hasn't used that. And somehow Krillon has unlocked a even more powerful version of the Solar Flare before Tien did. Try to wrap your mind around that. He never uses the Dodon Ray ever in Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super, which according to Akira Toriyama, he wrote it to be more powerful and to be more effective than the Kamehameha itself. Yet the only thing that Tien uses now is the Kiko Ho. That's it. He doesn't use the Don Don Ray at all. Like, why would you completely forget about a technique that is literally stronger than the Kamehameha, which is directly stated by Master Roshi in Dragon Ball? He said this, that the Don Don Ray was more powerful and more effective than the Kamehameha. He also stated that the Kiko Ho is a power that makes is an attack that makes your power greater than that of yourself. The whole concept of you being able to produce an attack that's greater than that of yourself came directly from Tien's Kiko Ho. So anytime that you see characters in Dragon Ball producing attacks that are greater than that of themselves, it's because of Tien. Tien went from being the most powerful character in Dragon Ball, aside from King Piccolo and Goku, to being apparently fodder. He's like Yamcha. He got Yamcha'd in Dragon Ball Super, despite him having the greatest potential out of any other character in the series right now, aside from Goku and Vegeta. Because Tien has been training for like 40 years of his life, dude. He's been training. He's in his 50s now. He's been training his entire life, and they have given him no respect at all. Like, Crillon, I think, is now stronger than Tien is because of the wanking that he's got. And even though he hasn't trained as much as Tien in any capacity, right? Gohan is massively more powerful than Tien because of his Saiyan cells. But if you actually look at how much time he's trained, Gohan has only trained, I don't know, for 5 years of his life. And he quit martial arts too. And yet somehow he's relativistic to Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Could you imagine, with all the training and being able to go to his full potential, and even if we go and say that, even if he went to Namek and got his potential unlocked by Guru, and then got his potential unlocked by the Supreme Kai, could you fathom, and unlocking the power in his third eye, could you even fathom the massive amounts of power that Tien would be able to accrue if he were in the same circumstances as Tien and Gohan? Could you even fathom how much more powerful Tien would be if the writers just didn't give a shit about Tien? Again, that's going to be the end of my video. This is my first time, or I think my second time doing a video like this outside of a review. I wanted to give you guys more content, and this is a more serious. This was not as lighthearted as I usually try to make reviews or any of my other videos. This is 100% serious. Again, these are all my opinions. This is what I thought were egregious that I noticed. Obviously, there's a lot more things that that are inconsistent in terms of scaling and anything else you can imagine in Super. But these are the things that I could pick out and I could most clearly point out and say, yes, this is bullshit. And I have a lot of evidence and logic to support it. So if you like this video, be sure to subscribe and like if you want to see more content like this. If you have any more video ideas that you want me to cover, if there's anything that you want me to cover revolving Dragon Ball that isn't like some headcanon what if theory, but something that happened in Dragon Ball Super and that you think doesn't make sense and you want me to cover it or try to explain it, please let me know in the comments down below, because I would love to make more videos like this. I have fun making this video and, you know, trying to break this shit down. This isn't the top 5 inconsistencies in Dragon Ball Super. Again, these are just 5 that I pointed out. Yet again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching and welcome to all my new subscribers. Ours out.